Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces, which has been accused of committing atrocities in Darfur, says it has now agreed to a humanitarian truce. The pause was proposed in September by a group known as the Quad that's made up of the US, Egypt, the UAE and Saudi Arabia. The proposal includes a 3-month humanitarian pause, followed by a permanent ceasefire and a 9-month transition to civilian rule. More than a week ago, the RSF seized el-Fasher, the army's last stronghold in Darfur. Accounts of mass killings, rape, torture and humiliation have since been reported by those who escaped. Those thousands of people who have fled the RSF's advance have been making long journeys for hours and at times days, both in Sudan and across the border in Chad. The UN's migration agency says 81,000 people have escaped north of Darfur since the RSF seized it a month ago. Many have fled to overcrowded camps where food and water is running low.
We walked in the streets for 2 days on our feet. If the RSF found you, they beat you. We saw beating, raping, whipping. They were whipping people with anything, even running people over with their cars.
We lived through a very big crisis in el-Fasher, through the continuous shelling by drones, artillery and random bullets. There was also a complete siege. There was no food at all. It was a tragedy on the streets. There were dead bodies. There were people who collapsed because of the walking, exhaustion and harassment.
It's unclear how many civilians are still trapped in el-Fasher. Social media is flooded with videos of fighters killing people, and satellite imagery shows mass graves are being dug there. Sudan's Prime Minister Khalid Idris told Al Jazeera the violence could spill over to the wide region unless the international community steps in.
These crimes committed in el-Fasher by the Rapid Support Forces are unprecedented in the history of mankind. These monsters do not care about the UN resolutions and all the appeals by the international community. Yes, they have been condemned worldwide, but these condemnations are not enough. What is needed now more than ever is to designate this group as a terrorist militia, because the danger now is only threatening Sudan. But there is a danger that it will come and threaten the security and stability of Africa and the whole world.
Now here's where the front lines are in Sudan. So the RSF and its allied factions control a significant part of Darfur, parts of Kordofan, and a border triangle between Sudan, Libya and Egypt. Paramilitary fighters have also taken control of el-Fasher in the capital of North Darfur. And now the fighting has reached El Abeid, the army-held capital of North Kordofan state, where at least 40 people were killed in an attack on a funeral gathering on Wednesday. The city is a logistics and command hub linking Darfur to Khartoum. Hiba Morgan's live for us in Khartoum. Hiba, just talk us through what little details we do know about what the RSF has actually agreed to and what the Sudanese army might actually think about this.
Now, we know that the proposal, the ceasefire proposal, was proposed by the United States together with the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, said that they had agreed to the truce that, according to the proposal, should last for 3 months and then would pave the way for a political negotiation between the Sudanese army, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, and other political parties to find a way to completely end this conflict and bring about a civilian government. Now, according to the statement released by the paramilitary group, they said they agree to the proposal of ceasefire that has been put on the table because of the humanitarian situation and that they do want to open humanitarian access to areas where it is needed. They also said that they want to ensure that this ceasefire that is being proposed would pave the way for a talk or talks between them and their rivals and other political groups to try to find a way to end this conflict. They said that they're eager to find some kind of end to this 2-year conflict that is now in its 3rd year. Now, the Sudanese army had been repeatedly saying that they want to continue fighting. We heard that from the Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan on Thursday morning. We heard it from him again on Wednesday when he said that there will be no peace talks and no truce with the Rapid Support Forces. He had previously said that he does not believe that the Rapid Support Forces and their fighters and members can be integrated into the Sudanese community once again. The Sudanese government had been repeatedly saying that the United Arab Emirates, which is part of the Quad, which had put forward this proposal, has been backing the RSF, and they do not want the UAE to be part of the group that is proposing peace. Now, it's not clear if after the RSF has agreed to the ceasefire, if the Sudanese army would agree to it. But up until about an hour ago, the army had been saying that they do not want a truce unless the rapid support forces, in addition to accepting the proposal, withdraw from any city that they currently occupy. And that's most of the western region and parts of southern Sudan, and meet or regroup in a camp that becomes their base before any talks are put forward. So the army wants the RSF to withdraw from cities before any kinds of talks happen. So it's not clear if now that the RSF has agreed to a ceasefire, if the army would change its condition or if it also will agree to the ceasefire that has been put forward by the United States.
Now, Hiba, you've just returned from Al-Daba. We've been talking to humanitarian aid agencies, human rights organizations about the situation in el-Fasher. 200,000 people are still said to be missing. We simply just don't know where they are. Those stories that you were reporting on from Al-Daba were incredibly harrowing. This ceasefire, you've seen firsthand, is desperately needed. So do you think that the Sudanese army is going to, buckle under that pressure to force a ceasefire by the Quad because of what you've seen?
Well, we have heard the Sudanese army saying that they do not want the United Arab Emirates, which is part of the Quad, to continue with its presence because it's been backing the rapid support forces. But when you listen to the harrowing stories of the people on the ground, you can tell that there is some kind of stability that is needed. At least there's some kind of humanitarian access, if not a ceasefire, that is desperately needed by people who have been affected by this conflict. When it comes to el-Fasher, for example, which had been under siege for nearly 18 months before the rapid support forces took over last week, people have been living on animal fodder, people saying that they could not find food for days, that when the rapid support forces took control of the city, they had to walk for days and days on empty stomachs before being able to reach any kind of displacement camp for safety, saying that there were people who died on the road because of hunger and thirst. So this humanitarian access that this ceasefire will bring about is desperately needed, but the Sudanese army is yet to agree to it. They have conditions. They said that the rapid support forces have to withdraw from all these cities that they've taken control of, that they have to rebase and regroup in camps specified for them before any talks about any potential deal is reached. So those conditions put forward by the Sudanese army, it doesn't look like the RSF will meet them, especially since they control most of the western region, and they don't look like they want to be giving up control of the western region of Darfur and of the southern parts of Sudan that they are in charge of.
Hiba Morgan live for us there in Khartoum. Now, Khalid Mishain is a spokesman for the Youth Citizen Observers Network, an organisation that monitors human rights and the humanitarian situation in Sudan. He joins us from Kampala. News of a potential ceasefire, news that the RSF may well agree to this ceasefire. They say that they have. That must be welcome news for you, or is it?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Khalid, just tell me what you think of this news of a potential ceasefire.
This is not the first ceasefire that the parties have talked about. Before we have just the declarations, and it was the most advanced ceasefire because they have reached and they have signed the ceasefire before. That was in May in 2024. But that ceasefire failed as a result of the implementation was on the grounds because the two parties were not committed to the ceasefire. And also we have the agreement of the humanitarian corridor that was signed in Geneva, but also they were not committed to that. So for this ceasefire, or we can say it's a truce, I don't think it's going to succeed also because of the will of the two parties. And I think it has failed because one of the parties have refused to sign due to some justifications, and I don't think this will be happening or taking place soon.
But if there's not a ceasefire, the situation in el-Fasher, as I was just saying to our correspondent, Hiba Morgan there, 200,000 people are still unaccounted for in that area. There have been human rights atrocities going on that have been filmed by the RSF soldiers themselves. A ceasefire has to happen. Now, you're saying, historically speaking, ceasefires haven't really worked in this area. What will work? What would you like to see?
Of course, a ceasefire. Of course, a ceasefire and then a peace talk, because this also Truce had started with, as he mentioned, with 3 months ceasefire, and then they were going to go to a peace talk. Ceasefire is the only solution currently, because beside the atrocities that committed in el-Fasher, is still the extension of the atrocities is advancing into other areas that are surrounding el-Fasher and other areas also in North Kordofan. But the solution at the end will be a ceasefire, and then there will be a peaceful solution to the conflict.
Now,
that's the only solution.
Now, you have, your organisation has had observers in el-Fasher. They're now in Tawila, which is the only safe place that they could get to. What have they been telling you about the situation in Tawila?
One of the observers have left el-Fasher 3 days ago, and now he's in Tawila. And he was telling how tragic and horrible the situation is in el-Fasher when the RSF attacked the city, and also how people were facing some difficulties and challenges in moving from el-Fasher to Tawila. So now he's there in Tawila, and also the humanitarian situation in Tawila is very catastrophic because of the increasing of the number of the displaced people from el-Fasher and other areas. So the situation is still there, needs more attention, humanitarian attention from different organizations, since there are many elderly, women, children in Tawila, and the number is very high, increasing daily, while there is a shortage of the humanitarian aid in Tawila.
Khalid, thank you very much for your thoughts. Khalid Mishain there from Kampala.
You're welcome.
Don't miss out to get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.